Good morning. Happy Sunday, everybody. So exciting to see you already here. Good morning, small wildflowers. Good morning, Catherine. Um, maybe I should start setting up the live. I set it up early, like I did usually I just come on and do it like right away, right before 11. But today I did it at like 10:30 and then I finished getting ready, although I probably don't look like I got ready at all. Good morning, Pixie. How are you? I'm going to just push this up a little bit. I have a few announcements that I'm going to make. Happy day before the lunar eclipse. Hody, hody, hody. Are we getting into some fun rides? Everybody fasten your seatbelt on the roller coaster ride that is this Earth plane. But before I start, next Sunday is Easter Sunday. So we're going to celebrate that by taking the day off so that all of you that have little ones and Easter egg hunts and church to go to, or whatever you may do to celebrate the day. So we're going to take that day off. And when we come back, we will have experienced our first lunar eclipse. So that's going to be very powerful, and heading into the solar eclipse in April. So just be prepared. Okay, so I did a Mercury retrograde video, so that's out. There is a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction video. Check that out. The April videos are all out, so your monthlies are out. So check all those out. Those are my announcements there. And then for those of you who are new to my channel, who will watch this potentially in playback, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the transits a little bit. Then we're going to do readings. We're going to use my angel deck and pull a tarot card for each sign. This is based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Aries, I'm talking about Aries rising. This is also super applicable to Aries moon, or all moons, sun, and then stelliums. I have done astrology long enough and have observed people with similar chart landscapes, like a lot of people with a Leo rising or say an Aries rising. And what really differentiates them is the moon, the aspects to the moon, where the moon is, and how it contributes to our emotional dynamic. And I mean this in a way because I have two different people that I've seen this last week who have their moon conjunct Rahu. And if you know a little bit about astrology, that's very, very powerful emotional energy. Now they're in two different signs, so they act out differently. And I'm bringing all of this up because I would like, when you look at your chart, to see where your moon is, to see how your moon makes aspects to the other points in your natal chart is very important for seeing how you process things emotionally. So anyway, so these are based on whole sign Western astrology. I'm talking about the Pacific time zone when I refer to a day or a time. So if you're somewhere else, please adjust for your location. And let's just jump in, because Venus is in Pisces right now, and she's just been having a summit with Saturn. And traditionally, most astrologers would be like, oh, Venus gets dumbed down by Saturn. This is where she puts on her turtleneck and she's sort of more bunched up. But I think because we're in the sign of Pisces, Saturn has been going through yet another evolution of how to be a spiritual leader. These planets are 4.5 billion years old on average. So when humans look at the idea that astrology was, the planets were, I think, don't quote me, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Galileo back in the 1600s that discovered the planets and the patterns and blah, blah, blah. So I'm kind of thinking to myself, we've got to give these planets some room for their own journey of evolution. So Venus here in summit with Saturn is like saying to Saturn, I'm done with illusions. I'm done pretending I don't have power. I'm done pretending I don't have talent. I'm done pretending that I can't make my own money. And Saturn says, well, it's about time. I've been scaring the crap out of you. I've been depressing you so much so that you would actually rise up and fight for yourself. And now Mars is going to go into, or Mars is in the very early degrees of Pisces right now. And we're going to have a similar summit between Saturn and Mars coming up, but not this week. Because Venus is really thinking about her relationships and her relationship with herself then in relation to others? Do they create peace? Do they foster my best self, or do they foster my most challenged self? Do I hope on some level that things are going to get better, and yet patterns are showing me that they're not? And is on some level my fear eclipsing my ability to see, to feel the intuitiveness of whatever I'm walking through right now? Because the lunar eclipse happening at 12 a.m. Technically, this is like 12 a.m. tonight when we when the clock turns to the 25th of March. And I think this is very powerful because it's on the supergalactic center. The supergalactic center is at 2 degrees, 22 minutes of Libra. And while Libra is primarily considered a relationship sign, it is the sign that represents civility, diplomacy, peace, harmony, the kind of things that bring us a sense of flow and ease. And oftentimes people think once we get in partnership that will bring that sense of security, of ease, etc. So this eclipse is really going to open something up. It's like bringing a door. I think of karma and fate as experiences that present opportunities. And through those opportunities, I get to make a choice. And I can look at the choice and say, okay, I'm too scared. You know what? I don't know where my money will come from. I don't know how I will thrive and survive. So no, I'm going to keep this day job because it gives me those medical benefits and it provides all the things that support if something bad happens to me. This is just an example, because as we move into this energy and we feel that this eclipse is happening at 5 degrees of Libra. That 5th degree is the Leo degree, the degree of myself, the degree of my joy, the degree of my happiness in the sign of Libra. How am I, as a soul in a human experience right now, supporting my own happiness, my own peace, my own sense of expression out into the world? And all of those expressions do not have to be money-making endeavors. They can be many other things, because Venus's summit with Saturn in Pisces, well, it is not necessarily in a direct aspect to this eclipse. It is the ruling planet. And as she continues through Pisces, she's going to come up on Neptune. Then she's going to go into a very powerful energy. Most people think she's in detriment when she's in Aries, but these are modern times. And Venus is much better in Aries than she's ever been before, because she's a better partner, because she understands herself, or at least she's trying to. And then she's going to go into Taurus. And when she goes into Taurus, lots of good things can happen. So I think this is about awareness. Like, I really think this is about how am I allowing myself to let whatever door closes, whatever illumination presents maybe a challenging decision for myself. Will I move forward? Won't I move forward? Or will I stay put and allow myself a divine inspiration that then leads me? The human often thinks it has to take action in order to be successful. And I think that, yes, that's very true, but inspired action is almost like a guarantee for success in whatever area you're in. So these are the things that I think that are powerful that are happening this week. And as I said, we're going to go into a Mercury retrograde. And when Mercury, check out the video, goes into retrograde, it's going to really hit, the North Node. It's going to hit Chiron, and it's going to meet up with Venus before it finishes the retrograde and moves forward again. So what's happening, the illumination that happens through this sign that represents professional partnerships, marriage partnerships, a sense of, this can also bring an illumination to like civil suits, or to things contributing to the law, to justice, if you've been in a squabble with somebody or you've been in a court case. And then we also see in the background Jupiter and Uranus, and Jupiter also rules justice and fairness. So there's a lot of things that can come into the forefront. And if for some reason nothing, because eclipses have a 6-month influence, so things can almost be foreshadowed during the actual eclipse, and then things can happen later. So as we move forward, the choices we make emotionally, the choices we make to demonstrate faith or to implement focus when it seems ridiculous will really bring a lot of what I think are kind of surprising manifestations coming. Okay, so we're going to go into our readings now. Just a little personal note here I'm going to share with you. Last week when I did the show, we usually end about 1 o'clock. There's usually about an hour and a half. And I went out front, and a couple of my neighbors were all gathered around, and I remember seeing a CHP or some sort of cop out there. And it turns out that my neighbor of almost 21 years passed away. And it was completely, while his health was not great, there were no true indications that he was, at all going to cross over. Pisces sun just had his birthday, Saturn coming up. He's had a couple of years where he could have made different decisions about how he treated his body. And he kind of, gambled or whatever. He's like, I want to do me the way I do me, and I don't want to change that. And even, so it's been very haunting to me, because I see this guy every single day of my life. We were literally friends, hang out, watch Jeopardy and, Clint Eastwood movies together, and very famous guitar maker, wonderful, wonderful man. But, the last couple of years he's getting tired, and it was so unexpected. And then I look at the transits, and I look at the lunar eclipse. Closing relationships on some level doesn't always have to be a relationship that is considered intimate. So be mindful as you walk through, not to be fearful, but to be intentional, because this also can bring the end of disruption, the end of not being seen. This can bring an illumination of how important it is to nurture oneself in a relationship, so that we don't inadvertently throw our balance off for ourselves or the people that we love and interact with. Okay, now we're really going. Small, when you weren't here last week, I made little index cards, and I put them up Aries, but I never ended up getting back to do the timestamps. So thanks everybody who helps out and pitches in when Small isn't here. I appreciate you all so very much, and thank you for continuing to watch. And the channel is growing. We're going to see more growth this year. I'm really now that my taxes are done, and maybe hopefully some of the kukala is done a little bit, I want to do a video about exaltation and detriment, because I've really been, Mars is going to move into exaltation, or not, into rulership. Venus is going to move into rulership. And I think it's going to be super powerful to look at these planets and how they are in our chart. Because if you have Venus in Aries, most astrologers will say that that's a challenge, but I want to offer you this. It's an opportunity to really understand your talents, your gifts, exercise your voice, and to be mindful that part of you wants to be a pioneer in expressing yourself. So I want to rewrite these a little bit and take some of that harsh edge off. Okay. Happy birthday to all my Aries, and any of you that are having a birthday a few days of this eclipse. This is very powerful. And any of you having a birthday around the 8th of April, that's going to be our solar eclipse. Very powerful. Also powerful for you to look at the degrees. Okay, so if you're in Aries and you have anything around 5 degrees of Aries, you will feel the eclipse in an opposition. So let's see what your tarot card is. Welcome, Sacred Artist. Hi, Stephen. Hi, Matt. Good to see you. Okay, everybody else who I didn't see in the chat, welcome, welcome. Okay. Oh, well, Aries, look at that, the Fool. Now, for me, a lot of people think that the Fool is Uranus, but I don't think it is, because I think it's Mars. because Mars is the pioneer. Mars is the one that goes out into uncharted territory and, breaks ground. Mars is a little, doesn't look where he goes all the time, Uranus already, Uranus bucks an already established system. That's how I perceive it. So here we see the Fool going out on the journey. He's got his trusty little companion, the dog. Neither are looking where they're going. They're clearly inspired by something, by ideas, by the promise of a new dawn, a new day, a new adventure, a new potential life. And it's very interesting to note that the mountains behind him seem cold, while the footing he's on could be precarious. But we don't know if that's a cliff, a ledge, just a little hop, skip, and a jump. It could be something very benign. So let's see where Mars is taking us this week. Now, as Mars has entered Pisces, often most astrologers will say this kind of waters down Mars's energy, and it can, absolutely. And this is where the aspects and the degrees become so important, because this will give you evidence if you're stretching to see the spiritual warrior within yourself, to assert yourself in a way that allows to harness and to call forth the divine laws of the universe as you take action, or if you get too stuck in the human experience, which will make you think you have to effort. So this is why I think that this Fool card is Mars going out on an adventure. And it also makes sense to me because Aries is the first sign of the Zodiac. It is where the soul comes into the physical experience and first discovers itself, its body, stretching its limits. What can I do with this body? What can I do with this head? Where can I go? Okay, here we go. Aries, our first angel is Daniel, the angel of marriage, which would indicate the eclipse for me. And the eclipse and the history that Libra has for you, because Aries, Libra is your 7th house. Caressa is talking about the end of a life cycle. Then we have Azure saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith and don't try to force it. And then we have Astera saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires and not to compromise. As I look at this, and we're going to see how the Camelot deck supports this, but it feels as if Daniel really represents my story in relationships, not necessarily bringing, and I want to talk about this, because when I talk about relationships, we immediately think intimate relationships with people. This could very well be Venus's influence on relationships with your own talents, your own gifts. This could be your relationship with money and how you believe you can create money or not create money. This could be anything to do with using your voice, meaning speaking up for yourself and standing up for what you believe in, and trusting that if you do, you don't have to be a warrior about it. This might be about going things in a different direction in how you, Daniel is being joined by the novice, a new beginning. Then we have Caressa, the end of a perception is happening for Aries. Then we have Azure, some sort of restriction is going to be lifted. And then we see the dog joining Astera. Okay, I want to offer it this way because, I get when I listen to other astrologers, and I haven't listened to anybody in a long time because I'm kind of tired of hearing Mars the warrior. I'm kind of tired of hearing, yes, Mars can be very, very fiery, angry, resentful. Yes, we all know that part. But here the Fool is offering you an opportunity to rewrite your history, to start to look at it as a launching pad for something that can be better. I am an Aries rising. And while I often, nobody ever thinks I'm sheepish. Let's just put it that way. But I have had a tendency when I'm right to be overly assertive in being right and not having enough material clout to really move the mountain. So now I have learned how to be more diplomatic, aware of how to move up and out in my action, because there's a new opportunity coming for my Aries where you'll be able to allow your relationships with money, other people, yourself as an entrepreneur, as an adventurer, as asserting something of yourself out into the world. It does not have to be always a money-making endeavor. It can be an endeavor of pleasure. This is a 5-degree lunar eclipse we're having. It is everything to do with the 5th house, including the conception of children, if that's in your, if you're in that chapter of life and that's something you want, because there's something about rewriting a perception. This is about becoming like what this is the perception card is offering the end of perceiving any sort of disempowerment, or that your history has to repeat itself, because the novice and the fool are offering a new beginning, but the offering is only as good as your willingness to take that step. And if you're stuck in anger or resentment, you may not be able to make that step. So now this is an opportunity in the angel's advice to actually feel your own evolution and to understand that maybe there was a moment where a restriction or a pause of some kind allowed you to clarify how you want to show up. This is, my chart is so interesting to me, really, because it is, on some level, there's a lot of power in it, and then there's a lot of learning how to use that power, to be enrolling, to be engaging, to be supportive, and yet to maintain myself. So my North Node is in Libra. It is on this eclipse. And as I personally perceive it, and I have a 26-degree Aries rising, so my descendant is at 26 degrees. And I believe that while I don't believe I'm here to get married. I believe I'm here to learn how to be Teri in an assertive way, but not be too pushy, not be too harsh, not be too impatient, but to come from Libran energies, to be loved, to foster peace within my interactions with others. I say this because Astera is telling Aries to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires and don't compromise. And this dog is really the sincerity. And this is, I don't know if it's really capturing love. It might be love of self, but this is a new beginning for you. This is your season. You're having a solar eclipse on the 8th of April. So whatever illumination takes place in your relationship with yourself, this being on the supergalactic center is really this themed relationship that the stronger I feel about myself, the more I love myself, the less I depend on someone else to love me. To say, like, sometimes there are people that feel completely like unplugged if they don't have somebody to be with them and validate them as, lovable. So this is about really an interior job. And also I want to offer it this way. If you have a history of challenges in relationships, then it's your opportunity to start to see that as a platform for creating more balance in your relationships. Almost allowing yourself to let go of things that aren't serving your future or your present. Good morning, Lucy Rose. Okay. Here we go. On to our Taurus, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. It's so weird to actually do the wheel in order. Usually we're always in a different month, mostly. There's so much synergy and layers in the chart. I do believe that the angles and just the, where your world access is, says something about what your soul is intending to experience and to birth. All right, Taurus. Oh, you have this beautiful strength card. This is a card that has a strong Leo energy. We see the lion clearly, but this is an energy where we see that it's through gentility. And it's also the card of fortitude. It in some ancient decks call it fortitude. And if anybody has the ability to perpetrate the energy of fortitude, it is Taurus, because you're able to really stay the course, pace yourself, steadiness. And I think this steadiness is a gentility with yourself. Any of you who have a Taurus energy, I would say the whole sign is feeling it. But if you're close to that conjunction, the 21st, 22nd degree, anywhere within 5 degrees of 21, 22 degrees of that conjunction, you are really starting to feel the power of the expansion and possibilities. And kind of part of it might be to be gentle with yourself as you are unraveling something that is come and go. Look at the infinity sign. There's something here in her mind, seeing the crown and her bounty up here. There's something about understanding the flow, the ebb and the flow, and this, meaning it this way for Taurus. Sometimes when you've experienced something either outside or within yourself that makes you feel stuck or makes you feel like you're not moving the story forward, that is part of the cycle of movement. Constant movement forward just creates exhaustion. There's never an opportunity for reevaluation. Now, let's see that we have this as Taurus. We're going to look at a Aries rising in your 12th. I'm sorry, Aries, Mercury retrograde in Aries starting on the 1st of April. Now, we're not there yet, but there could be the potential that you're going to reflect on some things about historic things that have happened to you, about how you assert yourself, or how you could potentially be somebody who bottles up your anger or your frustration in certain situations. And this feels as if there's an opportunity to be gentle and diplomatic, and also start to look at if you're supporting more Venusian energies within your everyday life. Meaning, are you creating comfort for yourself, or are you too focused on creating security? Because a focus on security is actually a focus on the lack of security. Meaning, if I'm trying too hard to build money, then I'm inadvertently focused on I don't have any money. All right, here we go. I think that's very powerful. 21 degree Pluto. It's a generational planet. So we'll see many people have that degree, and when we see it, you've got Pluto in Aries, Lucy Rose. No, how could you have Pluto in Aries? Pluto can't even be in Aries yet. We're not old. We're not. That can't be. I must be reading that wrong. Because Pluto was in Virgo when I was born, and it's only gotten up to Capricorn, so it hasn't gotten to Aries yet. We have to reincarnate before that happens, or at least I will. If I get to Pluto in Aries, I'm going to be one old lady. All right, here we go, Taurus. Are you ready? Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Is Queen Leo? Hi, Queen Leo. Welcome. Here we go. All right, Taurus, we have Sonia in the foundational position. We have Oceana in the opportunity or the obstacle. We have Mystique in the angel's advice. And then we have Caressa. Sonia represents your guides, your angels. If I was doing a one-on-one reading and I got pulled that it was an actual deceased loved one, that it could also represent that. But overall, for my Taurus's first house, Uranus, liberating yourself, your genius, forward-thinking, futuristic things, Jupiter coming in and really expanding your belief system, giving you an opportunity to create money, resources, literally through your own talents and your own skills. This is that conversation your ruling planet is having with Saturn. And so if we go, if we look, okay, so Taurus is your first house, Aries is your 12th house, Pisces is your 11th house of hopes and dreams, and also of expanding on the internet, or in a broad way, the collective consciousness, the World Wide Web. Sometimes when I say expanding on the internet, I feel like everybody thinks they should have their own channel. I don't know if that's necessarily true. There's many ways of creating commerce these days through technology. So there's something going on about continuing to do that. All right. Sonia is being joined by the disruption card. Oceana is being joined by the letting go card. Mystique is being joined by the wind fairy. And Caressa is being joined by the death card. Okay. So something is clearly shifting during this eclipse season. I want to offer it this way for my Tauruses, because when I look at this, I feel almost as if this disruption that comes up is preordained on some level to give you an opportunity to rewrite something. And when I say rewrite something, I mean if you have felt some sort of obligation or duty or a path that you've been on. When somebody has a job for 15 years and they've invested all this, and you got this 401k or whatever they give you, and you're like, oh God, I got to stay here for another 10 years before I can cash all this stuff out. I almost feel as if there's something is shifting, and the shift might be having the strength to continue on for a bit longer while the universe something's going to shift. And I need to pull a clarification card. Hold on. I'm going to do it with this deck. Okay. This is what I want to put. There may be a shift of your focus, what you want to do, how you make your money. And very much, I believe this this disruption that this lunar eclipse is bringing forth is divinely guided to allow you to make a move that you might not have made on your own because you have too much invested in the background. I don't know why I want to put it that way. I'm just going to put it that way because Oceana and the letting go card really talk about building from your heart, building something in the material world that's more aligned to what brings you joy, and having the fortitude and having the strength to stay aligned to that, so that dynamic can start to bring you a sense of physical, how do I want to put this? I almost feel like playing a little bit more to Taurus's heart makes Taurus's body feel better. The Mystique is here in the Angel's Advice, and Mystique is telling Taurus, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums to continue to have the fortitude to be aware of what you're focusing in on. What are you thinking about? The Wind Fairy is a 29. It's an air energy. So there's something that could also pertain to this eclipse. There's an interesting dynamic when I look at this for Taurus, because the letting go card is a 44, which brings, I'm building something new, but I want to build it from my heart. The strength card is playing to building something that might seem almost frivolous to others if I enjoy it, but at the same time, I don't know that it's actually frivolous at all. Then when I look at Mystique saying to keep charging ahead, this is where I'm aligned. I'm looking at where's my alignment. Am I aligned to my fears, or am I aligned to my emotional body? Then Caressa is ushering in the end of a life cycle. This is the eclipse. And then we have this transformational death card. And then we have this new focus card. So I think that something is going to happen for my Tauruses that will, for Taurus rising, Libra is your 6th house. Something is going to change in the way you make money. And if for some reason you think that the way you make money, like even if you have a steady job, there could be a shift around you within the company, within something. And there's the potential that initially it's frightening, or it feels a little bit like, oh no. It also feels like it actually can open up something better as it sort of compels you to shift your focus in a direction that's more aligned to your heart. Okay? All right. Onward and upward. My goodness, small wildflowers, you have been a busy little homemaker lately, haven't you? Did you actually move? Did you get into your new place? All right, here we go. On to our Gemini, rising, moon. No, you aren't there yet? Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, Gemini, rising, moon, sun, or stelliums, the 7 of Pentacles. This is a card, this is definitely a decision-making card. This is a card where I'm contemplating what I should do. I've amassed something, I've created something, I've worked on something, and now we see there's the potential for harvest, or do I allow things to grow further? Let's see. I want to offer this, Gemini, because as I look at this card and I'm really like, all right, Spirit, what do you want me to garnish out of this card that I haven't seen before? I'm noticing sort of an ease in the way he's leaning on his hoe. He's not in a hurry to make this decision, not at all. So let's see. And I think kind of he's not in a hurry because there's a sense of comfort, that ease, as I said. The 7 is the 7th house, the sign of Libra. Here we have this eclipse. This is in the 5th house. Libra's your 5th house. All right. For my Gemini, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, we have Rosetta. This is a card of childhood and parenting and teaching. We have Merlino, the wizard. We have Isabella saying, yes, the timing is right. And then we have Sonia again. Rosetta is being joined by the protection card. We have Merlina being joined by the wealth card. We have Isabella being joined by the burden card. And we have Sonia being joined by the risk card. Okay, there's a waiting here for Gemini. Absolutely. There is a moment where you will be inspired into action and you may want to move. You're ruled by Mercury, zip, 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 zip. And your ruling planet is about to go retrograde in, let's see, 6 days, 7 days, something like that. So we know the planet is slowing down. And I want to offer it this way because, again, humans tend to think that action creates some sort of outcome. And at the same time, I think that sometimes action trips us up because we have to look at we get to look at the platform, the vibration. I commented earlier that this man looks very relaxed as he's contemplating what he wants to do next. Now, this is interesting because Rosetta feels as if that inner child, the protection comes from slowing down enough, Gemini, the 38, to contemplate what your inner child would really want versus what the adult in you would do to protect yourself from whatever. Because now I have this really interesting energy of Merlina and the wealth card, which is a 34, which reduces down to a 7. We have a 7 here. Then I have the angels saying, yes, the timing is right. And there's the burden card, which is a 7. Now, yes, the timing is right, but the timing is right to contemplate the next move, to actually risk allowing spirit to inspire you into the next action. This is something this last year, 2023. Okay, so Pluto has been squaring me since like 2017, 2018. First my sun, then my rising, then my Mars in Libra, and then opposing my 4th house. So frustrating. My initial reaction to things was Aries hot, Aries harsh, Aries warrior. And as these last 5 years, 6 years have gone by, I've watched myself learn how to deal with people who have too much money. And I say that because they've got so much money, they don't think their integrity, their character, or any of that has to show up, and they don't appreciate it. And I've learned, not easily, but very deeply and very strongly rooted, how to trust spirit. So I'm telling you, Gemini, this is about really talking to spirit, not whether you can see the answer, not whether you know for sure it's going to happen, because this is a contemplation before harvest. And the wealth comes from magic, comes in some ways from recognizing that, yes, you're anxious to move forward, but yet you're waiting for the timing. You're ready. 7, 7, 7. And then we start a new building, meaning this risk card is almost feels as if it pays off. I'm going to do one quick clarification card. And then we have the 7 again, the Baird. Something for Gemini is shifting. Something is going to come into balance. And the focus on how it looks and what you want as you're contemplating. And then somewhere there's going to be an epiphany. And it may come out of somebody else's mouth. Sometimes people say things and they don't realize it. I was with a client yesterday, and they've had a certain situation going on, and their tribe has been responding in a certain way to them about the situation over and over again. And it hasn't made that person feel very good because they seem a little critical. And then out of nowhere, yesterday, two of them started to rewrite the story a little bit and put more possibility into the story. And I told her that was spirit telling you you've been holding the line, believing what you believe. And it's important because not everybody can always see how things are going to manifest. And people look for results in the 3D world. All right, you guys ready? Here we go. On to our Cancers. Oh, this is a lovely energy. That's the Four of Wands. It's a card of celebration. It's a card of, it almost feels success. You know, it feels as if there's been some sort of, we've done some work as we walked through the first three cards of the wand suit. And now we see a certain amount of there's a relaxed energy. There's a sense of community. It doesn't feel family oriented to me. It feels almost like a personal accomplishment. Let's look and see where we're going. Cancer, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, Cancer. Our first angel is Oceana. The second is Shanti. The third is Serena. And the final is Akasha. All right, Oceana is being joined by the birth and the rebirth card. Shanti is being joined by the spider. Serena is being joined by the earth fairy. And Akasha is being joined by the burden card. Okay. So here we have your moon. You're always going to be, you know, when you're ruled by the moon, everything the moon does has an effect on you. So you know, it's just the way moon people roll. So I feel like Oceana and the birth and the rebirth card are really, it sort of feels like a set of waves coming at me, reminding me that my emotional body sets the tone for what I experience. And I think that's really powerful because on some level, this celebration card may be a little something that I'm reaching for right now. Because when I say reaching, I almost feel like Cancer, there could be the potential that doing a bit of an inventory, you know, and I don't mean the inventory of what's been going wrong, but what's been going right, the things that you have emotionally, you know, this is the thing. It's not about ease. It's about alignment to a deeper truth. And when you're aligned to your deeper truth, then there can be a sense of peace that allows you to feel a celebration during a disruptive or rebirthing time. Okay. I just explained that as Pluto has made aspects to me, I started off behaving very reactionary and not very effectively. And now I'm more intentional about how I want to show up. And thereby I'm more effectual in the outcome. And yet the outcome hasn't actually been completely determined yet. Yet inside I know it because Shanti is the angel of peace and the spider is your opportunity. These are both your opportunity to celebrate an inner knowing as you rebirth something in a way that I want to say it this way, because if we think about the long journey of Pluto through Capricorn, it affected the Cancer energy in opposition. So this deeper inner knowing, and let me be loving to Cancer, but what if, you know, up until now, you've been loving people more than you've been loving yourself, or you've been putting them first and inadvertently depleting yourself? The awareness of that, and then realizing that the gift is to teach others through example. Because Serena, I don't think is about money. I think that Serena is about serenity, about peace, and about this opportunity to bring this peace into the 3D world through your relationship with yourself on some level. The peace of mind you give yourself by allowing your emotional body to dictate the outcome. So I have a couple of people in my tribe who are at a fork in the road, and decisions are co-created with others. And when I've been coaching them lately, I've been talking about, 3 questions I have each person ask themselves that clues into a deeper intuition, so that the fear may be right in front of their face, but when they go deep inside, the answer is truly here. This is on the table for you, Cancer. Is really, the celebration comes from this ability to go deep inside of your inner knowing, even though something has not happened maybe in the material world. Because I've got this burden card, and then I've got this teacher card, and I think that the burden comes from this constantly having to go into your emotional, your intuitive body. There, for me, when I think of the Cancer energy, it's very maternal, and it's also a healing energy. But healing is a balancing of the body, a balancing of the mind, a balancing of the spirit. And while if Cancer tells people you should be balanced, but you don't demonstrate balance, take care of yourself, love on yourself, kind of disconnect from people who could be draining every once in a while to replenish yourself, this could very well be coming up for you. Okay, this could very well be part of what your soul is going to celebrate an awareness of, and then an implementation. And that's what we might see within this. Because if I think about it, Cancer, Libra's got to be your 4th house, because you're cardinal. So this might have a lot to do with your home and what you have to, meaning the eclipse that's happening, the illumination that's happening. That we talked again, this is on the super galactic center, accentuating the relationship with self that then nurtures the relationship with those outside of ourselves. All righty, let's go on to our Virgos, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. All right. The sun, Virgo. The sun. Leo. Why'd I say Virgo? Take that back. We're on to Leo. No, I miss Leo. I said Virgo. It's Leo. And look at this is your card. The sun. Leo, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Fabuloso. Love it. Yes. Okay. Here we go. Leo. That was my mistake. I got a little overzealous there. Whoops. Got 20 million things going on in my head at one time. All right. Leo, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Bethany. The second is Patience. The third is Rochelle. And the final is Crystal. Idel, is that how you say that? Hi. Welcome, Istanbul. Nice to have you in the house. New friends, new faces, new vibrations in the house. So glad you can meet with us. We are on Leo rising. Moon, sun, and stelliums. And again, I want to accentuate your moon sign is so incredibly important. And just like the human structure, sometimes we dumb that down. We go, oh, that's not important. We go, your rising and how you project yourself into the world is more important. Your sun and then your moon. No. I would actually put the moon first and then rising, but they're so on a par. Anyway, Leo, here we go. Bethany's being joined by the Baird. Patience is being joined by Merlin. Rochelle's being joined by the focus card. And then Crystal is being joined by the perception card. So here we have Leo, the ruler of the Zodiac. The sun rules you. The sun is in a conversation, a lunar conversation, eclipse conversation with the moon this week. So your ruling planet. While it is in Aries, it is exalted in Aries. That's important to make mention of, because we're talking about an exalted sun in the midst of a lunar eclipse, as we're going to go into a new moon solar eclipse while the sun is exalted. This means the sun is super powerful, double toil and trouble. And I say that because the fated events that are offered to us to exercise our individuality, our individual thought. Bethany and the Baird feels as if angels are saying to you this week, it's time to put your desires at the forefront and to start talking about it to yourself. I don't have a lot of specific dreams. Like I don't say I want da 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 da. Or maybe a little bit. I want 20 million from the lottery, or but I do say more than anything, I talk in flow. I want flow because there is something being offered to our Leos in the way of alchemy and justice. But part of it is about being aware of your own contribution to that. Your willingness to tell a new story. Oftentimes, God bless the fixed signs, they will chime. This happened. This is what really happened. And the truth is it did. But does it serve you to repeat it? If we believe in the divine laws of the universe, the repetition of that is a co-creation of the experience again and again and again. So now Spirit is offering, come from your heart. That's where the prosperity lies. And that's where all the good things grow in the sunshine. So this is extremely, extremely valuable information because Crystal is saying, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon that you can't see. And then Spirit wants you to check your perception. What do I actually perceive? Because I'll tell you, I have a lot of people that have fixed energy and they'll be like, I am doing that. I am doing that. I am doing that. And the frustration is growing in their emotional body. And they don't hear that frustration is actually a block and the doing is a waste of time. The doing is not contributing to the outcome you want. So this is about joy and pleasure and fun and knowing that things will grow. When we plant something in the seed of darkness, which we will do in 2 weeks. This is the other thing I want to bring up. We are in a flipped moon cycle. Like for the last few months and for a few more months, we are experiencing a full moon before a new moon. And then the moon cycles are going to go back to normal. We'll have a new moon in the beginning of the month and then a full moon. So we are being offered an illumination, an awareness before we plant the seeds for our next manifestation. So I really think that this awareness and starting to tell a new story. This child is not only naked, he trusts the pony. And the pony's young. The pony, we don't know that pony knows how to keep that kid from falling off, but the child is not concerned. The child sort of feels like he knows how to be vulnerable, or she knows how to be vulnerable to their own perceptions. And that's where true leadership lies. Okay. Onward and upward to our Virgos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. It's nice to see everybody interacting in the chat. Like any good sermon, you got to have people in the congregation that are passing notes and talking, because that's how you know they're engaged. No, I mean it. I've missed y'all chatting in the. You can always watch this in playback. I'm glad y'all are chatting. Did I miss anything? All right, here we go. On to our Virgos. Victory in the form of the Six of Wands. This is really a very, very lovely energy. And yet at the same time, there's a slight cautionary energy to it. There's a bit of, when we look at the horse, we can see a bit of arrogance in his face. And then we almost see a bit of I don't know what we think with that guy, but there's a little bit, it doesn't look like he's necessarily smiling. And so there's something, I don't know that this means that I don't necessarily think that Virgo is having an arrogant energy, but your victory may come in recognizing the arrogance in others and not responding to it. This is a Libra full moon lunar eclipse tomorrow. And Venus is having conversations with Saturn in Pisces. So Saturn can be very much representing that authority, and Venus ruling your money. And then we see the eclipse in your second house. So let's see what's going on here. All right. Our first angel is Vanessa, faith over fear. Then Francesca, are you going to visualize negativity? That's a little shadow side of the Virgo energy is, but this is how this is going, and being a little bit too in the earth and where the process goes. And that can sometimes trip us up. And then we have Grace and Antoinette and Archangel Gabriel, which I think is like your ruling angel because it's all about communications. I don't know if I told you guys last week or not, but I had a random deposit in my bank account that I wasn't expecting. And I got a payment back pay for something in 2022. And I must say, I thought it was a mistake, and I didn't touch it for 2 or 3 weeks waiting for a notification in the mail, whether it was true or false. And then when I found out it was true, I was like, wow, money really can just come out of nowhere that you don't expect. Because something here feels as if the process of you trying to figure out what it is will not necessarily work. So this could also indicate the victory comes from if you think you know what the answer is, but you don't really know the answer, because something's going to come from another source. That's the way it feels. The deer is joining Vanessa. Merlin is joining Francesca. The butterfly is joining Grace and Antoinette. And the wind fairy is joining Archangel Gabriel. Okay, so let's just look at your second house is Libra. This is our eclipse is in the second house. Next eclipse is going to be in the 8th house. Okay. That means that you have an opportunity to have some sort of epiphany as you slow down. And I want to offer it this way, because if you think you know where you're going or you think you have a plan, the Mercury retrograde could illuminate something or bring into awareness something that your victory comes from slowing down a bit and not feeling like I have to charge forward, being aware of how I'm viewing things and allowing a piece of information to come through. Because with Archangel Gabriel and the wind fairy in the final position, something has to do with communications. And we know that Mercury retrogrades tend to have us review things in some way. So this might be where the victory comes in. And I also want to offer this. Years ago when I worked in Hollywood, I wanted to be a writer, and I wrote some what they call spec scripts. And I had people read them. And while I had some really funny, sarcastic lines, every once in a while, I'd have to kill off one of those funny lines because it didn't really serve the story as well as it could. So part of this may be that Virgo, something isn't serving the story, and you're going to have to, your victory comes in allowing it to sort of sit by the side of the road versus bringing it in. Vanessa rules faith over fear. Here's this gentleness and diplomacy as you delineate where you're making your decisions from. Is this a faith-based decision? Am I doing this because I'm afraid I won't be able to blah, blah, blah? Because Francesca is about negativity. So these two are kind of running a theme here for me, that you might be over analyzing something and thinking you know what the outcome will be, but you got to kind of give a minute and let spirit show you something different, because there's an opportunity for alchemy, justice, for more balance. And here is Grace and Antoinette, this opportunity to give yourself grace as you allow for this blossoming, or you allow for the information to come through. Something really feels, it almost feels as if you've missed a piece of information, or you read something and you interpreted it one way. Okay, I'm going to give you a weird random example. Okay, you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but when I watched the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and they do the beginning where each housewife has a little tagline. There's a gal, the youngest one, her name is Crystal, and she says, "They say wisdom comes with age. Well, I'm living proof of that," or something like that. And I think, yeah, you're living proof of that. There's no wisdom with your age. There's like a weird double entendre the way that it's comes across to me, because this is where there's something about you blossoming because you've given yourself a little bit of a moment to really stop and look at how you're balancing yourself versus moving forward. And this has a lot to do with your self-thought, your self-talk, yourself, all that I teach, I learn, I speak, energy of Mercury right here. Okay, I hope that made sense. Onward and upward. On to the host, Libra, of this eclipse. Big, big, big. Biggie, big, big. Now, it's very beneficial to remember that an eclipse day, does not necessarily bring any events. it is a process of opportunities and circumstances and situations coming together to present us an experience that gives Libra an opportunity to assess, am I making my choices based on an even exchange of energy between myself and others. And our card is the Devil. A little challenging. And I want to offer it this way because to me, for my Libras, this very much represents who has power over you. Who inadvertently, through relationship, we see the man and the woman are chained to this post, which the devil is not holding on to. And it appears that they could easily remove those chains, just lift them up off of their neck and release themselves. So this would be fears. This would be people who potentially have authority and how you perceive that authority and what it has over you. Okay, let's look and see. Because this card could very much represent conquering that or having an awareness of it and then making a decision that allows you a new opportunity for power and control over your own life. Our first angel is Daniel, the angel of marriage and history. The devil is Capricorn, also rules history. We have Oceana. There's that intuitive energy. Sometimes Libra has trouble like wanting to be intuitive because they want to, weigh what's fair, what's within the realm of the air and the earthly structure. This can also represent earthly structure, which is very much changing right now. In the angel's advice, we have Francesca, which is about what your focus is, and then Sonia. Okay, something big is happening for our Libra rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Taurus is also your 8th house. So there's some action going on in your 8th house of transformation, other people's money. We see the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is going to take place there. A transformation of beliefs, a bit of individuality for the self. Daniel is being joined by the frog. Oceana is being joined by Merlin. Francesca is being joined by the wealth card. And Sonia is being joined by the protection card. Okay, so for my Libras, absolutely, this devil card represents some sort of authority and perceived power over you in some way. I'm not saying that it's actual power because, oftentimes, like I live in this apartment building, and there's a property management people, and some people think they rule the roost. They think they're the law. I don't think they're the law. I don't think they're the law at all. I think they're the thieves and scoundrels, but that's beside the point. So we both have the same situation and a different perception of it. Or because here, this frog not only represents the cleaning up of the mind from a history and relationships, and this could be 7th house, it could be how people are civil to you, how they interact with you, peace with you. But that frog is coming up as good luck to me because I have an awareness of what could potentially, people who think they have power over you will act like they have power over you. And if you push back, and this is not about verbally pushing back, it's just about how you do vibrationally, because Oceana is telling me that there's justice afoot. There is something coming in the way of balance. And the balance coming with this angel's advice of wealth is literally a shift in the way you're thinking about that person, the power they have over you, or that entity and the power that they supposedly have over you. And now I absolutely feel like I am an alien on this planet because I don't listen to one damn human. None of them. I don't care if the president of the United States, if every president in every country came and sat in front of me and said, this is how it is. If I don't believe it, I'm not going to agree with them because they have that position. I only go to spirit. I trust spirit. I trust my intuitiveness. I don't think it's arrogance. I think it is I think it's the Uranus in me, and there's my protection. And then I see this 38, which reduces down to a 1. And then I see this 1 in Merlin. Then I see this 7 in Libra. The wealth comes in my peace of mind now. This is not about wealth of money or wealth of material objects. This is where I can identify who has had power over me through fear, through feeling like if I don't have this, then I won't have that. And somewhere this is all coming to fruition for you. And I think that this is very powerful because, again, we're seeing this 5-degree lunar eclipse. That's the Leo degree of leadership and of trusting the courage to trust your heart and your emotions. Very powerful. I kind of can't wait to see what happens in my personal life because I've just been sitting on pins and needles, like the movie of my disruption has been put on pause, and I'm like, when are they going to hit the play button again? I want to know what's happening, and I'm almost afraid to ask. It's like I almost feel like, not that ignorance is bliss, but there's like a part of me that goes, if I ask questions, I could just get more anxiety than I can relief. Maybe there's a little something going on in not knowing when I do go into my heart. Because oftentimes when you go into your heart and then you start looking in the outside world for people to agree with what your heart tells you, they actually do the opposite. They're like, oh, what about this? Ooh, what about that? And that feels as if that awareness, oh, I had that little weird trepidation, so I went looking outside myself for an answer. So sometimes ignorance is bliss. All right. Oh, Scorpio, here we go. 9 of Cups. This is lovely. Self-satisfaction, feeling so good about myself that I got a little wiggle in my step. Here we go. Scorpio, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. So the grand conjunction, the great conjunction that hasn't happened but 3 times. I think my research was right. I'm pretty sure it was. Really only happened in Taurus like 3 times in hundreds and hundreds of years. Hundreds and hundreds of years. So this is very powerful for you in the way of, money, relationships, feeling good about you in those relationships. This is all about your self-satisfaction. Scorpio, our first angel is Archangel Michael. The second is Yvonne. The third is Grace and Antoinette. And the final is Oceana. So we see the grand conjunction in your 7th house, but we also know that the lunar eclipse is going to happen in your 12th house. Libra is your 12th house. And this could very well be the end of a cycle that has been a soul's cycle of a lack of diplomacy, a lack of harmony, a lack of feeling seen and heard. Oftentimes with Scorpio, they always assume that Scorpio is perpetrating the energy. You're the stinging one. You're the brooding one. You're the intense one. It's not always true. It's that deep psychology sometimes of knowing. Now, if we put this eclipse in your 12th house, there's an illumination coming. There's an illumination in the idea of Libra, where how do I create that harmony and peace for myself? And you may be just satisfied because you have had the awareness that there's certain energies that you're like, nope, I can't be around that, or I don't want to do that, or I'm not going to feel up. It could be something going on there. Archangel Michael's being joined by the spider absolutely has to do with relationships. In some way or another, you're going to have the courage to put up either healthy boundaries or disengage, or maybe even see someone. Sometimes when I look at someone's chart and I see their moon and Rahu together, I'm like, they can't help themselves. They cannot help themselves. Their moon and Rahu makes them ravenous. And then the landscape, the house, the sign is really telling you where they're ravenous for it. So sometimes, but it also doesn't mean you got to stick with it. Because I think somehow, okay, so the Yvonne is being joined by the cow. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the hawk. And Oceana is being joined by the love card. I got to tell you, for my Scorpios, it feels as if you've had an awareness of something and you're being vulnerable to that awareness, meaning I'm going to trust what I feel on the inside versus what I might see on the outside. And as that comes into play, there's a very good possibility that it opens up something much more satisfying as an individual. So here's my relationship card, and here's the opportunity to make changes and to feel protected. The change feels like it comes from a place of feeling satisfied about how I interact with others. Yvonne is about giving and receiving, and the nourishment card, Yvonne is about vulnerability, and the cow is about nourishment and receiving. And I think that receiving is this feeling of satisfaction of being seen in your interactions with others. And if for some reason you're not being seen, or you're being put in a situation where people are like, well, you always do this, because Grace and Antoinette is really where you ride now. You're willing to pull yourself up above the fray and to have, maybe you have give someone else grace, but this is really more about Scorpio claiming what the kind of life that they want to have and being vulnerable to the idea of an even exchange of energy. Because Oceana and the love card this feels very much as if this eclipse over the next potentially 6 months could bring an illumination about something that is an historic soul's imprint that now allows you the opportunity to stand a little bit more in that Scorpio power. And the power is knowing the psychology of something. And rather than trying to move it, you allow yourself to align to something that's more authentic to what you love and what you feel on the inside. Scorpio realized, knowing their power through their awareness of themselves is not about taming anything. The eagle is the ancient totem of Scorpio. We often only talk about the scorpion. Now let's look at the differential between a scorpion that crawls in the desert, right, where there's not much that's feels like it's fertile there. You don't see it; it's all dry. And then we look at the eagle, which is able not only to have huge sight, but fishes, and with great prowess is able to build and to, it's majestic in its energy. This is a call to your own majesty, Scorpio. Good week. Onward and upward. I don't know why I say that. I think it comes from my childhood. It must be some old army term. All right, here we go. For our Sagittariuses, the moon. Now, traditionally, this looks like a silo, prison, people howling at the moon. Is it? I don't know. I really think it's the two sides of my own intuition. One is primal and understands my emotions, and the other feels like it wants to be complementary, the dog versus the coyote or the wolf. And Sagittarius is the mutable fire, right? So I always tease you guys. I tell you, you're like the friendliest people in the Zodiac, because you truly are. You're very much used to the diversity of thought, the diversity of the planet in and of itself. But here, when I look at this, I feel like this particular week, this eclipse is calling forth an opportunity for you to dig deeper into your emotional body, dig deeper, not into your problems. This is more about an intuitive knowing that will in many ways illuminate where you may have felt imprisoned. And when I see those silos and those little windows, I feel like that I'm trying to see things through my human eyes, and the moon is forcing me to reconcile between two sides of myself. The dog very much to me can represent wanting to please other human beings. And the coyote or the wolf feels, you hear about the lone wolf. So this is about being of yourself, what you want for yourself. All right, here we go. Sagittarius, rising moon, sun and stelliums. Our first angel is Omega, victory. Ariel's all about your intuitive being and connection to spirit. Isaiah's about new beginnings and the gestation of those plans. And then Shanti is the angel of peace. We cannot ever forget that your ruling planet is in this conversation that will change us all in some way or another. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's an outward change. It can very much well be an inward change, a shift to a broader perspective, a more diverse way of operating in this 3D world. Victory is being joined by the movement card. Ariel's being joined by the joy card. Isaiah's being joined by the truth card. And Shanti is being joined by the owl. You know, I think that when I look at this Sagittarius, this feels like a very emotional week where Sagittarius becomes more and more aware of their emotional body and the duality of it. When I was first doing my work, I used to try to figure out how I knew things. I used to want, to make them feel like, I would see on TV. And then, after almost 10 years of working for myself, especially this last year, I just let it out. I don't care how crazy it sounds or how weird it sounds. And I become more and more specific about details that it really kind of freaked me out, to be honest with you, because where I'm going is the victory comes from the movement, but the movement is the awareness of the ebb and the flow between the raw primal part of your intuitiveness and then the part of you that is trying to live in the human world and adhere to human rules that make no sense whatsoever. Okay, because in your opportunity is truly to celebrate the joy of your connection to spirit and that truth, that the more and more you operate from an up and out, meaning I'm connecting with the divine laws of the universe. I absolutely believe that the law of attraction is a real thing. And as I align to that, I understand more about how the ebb and the flow work, that oftentimes fear and trepidation are the precursors to achievement and to feeling a sense of peace, because the owl is very much resonating with this energy of going back and forth with my emotional body and feeling sort of a little bit, again, we're going through a huge eclipse. If we talk about Sagittarius rising, then we're looking at Scorpio as your 12th house, Libra as your 11th house. So your hopes, your dreams, how you interact with the future of your life, the expansion of your life, how the world even perceives you. Well, I feel like there's more peace coming. That peace comes because I understand. I understand the ebb and the flow. I don't always like it, but I know what goes up must come down and what goes down must get thrown back up at some point. All right, on to our Capricorns, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Oh, Capricorn. The Two of Cups, darling. Now, this is very interesting because we could, everybody thinks, oh, partnerships. We have an eclipse, darlings. And Libra is your 10th house. So there could be some illumination about your public status, about your ambitions, about how you want to interact in partnerships. And I really believe that Capricorn that's standing in awareness is starting to feel the joy of Leo's energy. That lion, the wings over it are like, feel very much it's about leadership and about expressing myself in ways that there's fun involved here. When we look at this card, there's no challenges, there's no rocky terrain, there's no buildings to traverse. This is just a coming together and an offering. And when we think of the offering, we're offering our cup, our emotional body. And when we think about what we're offering, when I look at the card, oftentimes when we come into partnership, we don't really think about how we're showing up. We focus on how the other shows up for us. So let's see where we're going, Capricorn. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Thank you, Jules. My glasses. I'm resistant to get to go over 1.75 readers. I don't want to do it every week. I think I need to. Ugh. And for those of you that came late to the room, next Sunday is Easter, so we're going to take Sunday off and enjoy the bunny train. Bunny, the rabbits sleeping in. All right, here we go. Capricorn, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Fiona. Now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. Grace and Antoinette is about compassion. Athena is about assertion, but in a loving way. And Astera is about reaching for the stars. Oftentimes when Astera says to reach for the stars, I very much think that this is about connecting with spirit. You know, saying, you know what? I want to win $20 million in the lottery, but I'll settle for $5 million. Teasing. I'd probably say to spirit, I'll win as much money as is fun to win in the lottery. I saw this Dream Home episode with Lottery Dream Home, and the guy chose to take $1,000 a day over the payout. And he bought his mom a house, and then he bought himself a condo in New York City. So I guess that $1,000 a day was pretty good. All right, here we go. Capricorn, Fiona is saying, now that you ask God and the angels for help in partnership, be open to receiving an energy exchange. Oh, yes. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the birth and the rebirth card. Athena is being joined by the disruption card. And the serpent is joining Astera. This is very interesting to me because I almost feel like when I look at this, it feels as if Capricorn energy, and I'm not going into intimate partnerships, but this is the eclipse, right? In your 10th house. And I think that this is really a review of how do I want to have relations. When we look at where Mercury is going to be retrograde, it's going to be in your 4th house. And so there could be a review of how you were brought up and how you have interacted up until now. And now when I go up to the eclipse in your 10th house, and then we'll have a subsequent eclipse in your 4th house, this could be about coming together in unison with the things that bring you joy and make you feel loved versus the interaction of another human being. Because when I look at the partnership card, this could very well about being in partnership with spirit. Now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving more joy in how I create. You know, Libra is naturally, while it squares you, the 10th house is your natural home. So there is an element of cooperation, but that tenseness of the square is about having compassion as you rebuild something that's more aligned to joy, and I want to offer it this way because it could be the identification of, oh, I thought I was building something on a joyous platform, and then I realized I was really building it on scarcity and lack. Because Athena talks about lovingly asserting yourself, and then we have this disruption card. And I think that is about actually looking deeper into the rebirth and having compassion for a process. Now, you know, we know that Capricorn is willing to build, and that takes time, but also Capricorn is very aware of how people are perceiving them while they're building. So I think this is an opportunity for Capricorn, rising moon, sun, and stelliums to really start to garnish the knowledge that they have gained through what they've walked through. Pluto's transit is completely, you know, you shed one skin and you have a whole new skin. And now this working with your guides, your teams, your thoughts, your awareness of these, again, divine laws of the universe are going to offer some sort of opportunity coming in. And I think if for some reason we see a shift in any kind of public status, your job, it doesn't mean you lose your job. It could be a shift within a company, shift within authority around you, and yet you're staying emotionally to your true north, you know, during the disruption. Like, I want to offer it this way. If there's an outside disruption, you're like, okay, spirit, however this is going to play out, I'm going to love the outcome. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to have more time, and I'm going to work with people I really enjoy. And I'm not at this moment going to focus in on if I can see that. I'm going to feel it as I work in partnership with you. All right, on to our Aquarius, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, Aquarius, here's the death card. Now, this is very much, you know, in some level, I think of Pluto as your, as the Judgment card, but very much so we could feel a sense of transformation here. And what we focus really in it are the rules and the regulations. The king is dead, and yet the faithful pope or whatever religious figure is interacting with this transitional energy. We know that Pluto has moved into your first house. So there's a part of you that is transforming. And this is a natural thing for Aquarius, because Aquarius is used to looking to the future, to innovating and renovating. And so I think that this could very well be ushering in something that's very favorable for you. Pluto, so often we only focus in on really the darkness. But if you look at this card and the flag he's carrying, this mandala, this flower, this sort of symbol is much brighter with the black. This is where we see the black allows that white light to pop in many ways. And the whole armor, the seat that the character is sitting on is purple. So there's a divine wisdom that's being offered, which is really what the transformation tends to reflect. All right, Aquarius. Our first angel is Francesca. The second is Caressa. The third is Archangel Uriel. And the final is Astera. Francesca is being joined by the Risk card. Caressa is being joined by the Birth and the Rebirth card. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the Love card. And Astera is being joined by the Earth Fairy. So for my Aquariuses, I think this is really powerful, because on some level, it almost feels as if Aquarius has been calling forth a shift in some ways. And now the risk is really your focus. There's a little, there's a bit of a warrior energy when we look at that Aquarius energy. We talk about the unexpected. We talk about lightning, but, you're a libertarian. You're a rebellion. You're a rebel by nature. You're a patriarch. You're going to be patriotic to the things that you believe in, and you're going to fight for them. And here we see the Birth and the Rebirth card, very much like the Death card or Pluto, and a new chapter coming that ushers in much more happiness. And literally your anger and your frustration at what has been going on seems to be replaced with love and with a sense of loyalty. And this is now an opportunity to take what has been only dream time for you. Reach for the stars with your dreams and desires, very Aquarian. Now it gets to come into the physical world. Sometimes I've seen disruptions that seemed very tragic. I know I've told you guys this story, but very quickly I'll just repeat it. Before I moved into my place now here in Laguna 20 years ago, I was living in North Carolina, and I moved back to California. And in the move, I lost everything I own. The moving truck pulled into some stop to have a bite to eat, and they tend to leave the cabs running for the air conditioning. And banditos stole the truck and all my things with it, along with 7 other families. While it was tragic, it was the most liberating thing that ever happened to me in my life. And while it was not an easy journey in the beginning, it certainly played off better. Something like that's happening for Aquarius right now. All right, let's go on to our final sign, Pisces. We have the 5 of Swords. It's a bit of a challenging energy, actually. 5 of Swords is where I win the battle, but I don't feel good about it. Let's look and see. There can be a little contempt here, as you've disarmed your opponent, and yet they seem to turn their back on me. And that might be something you fear, Pisces. We do have Saturn, Mars, Venus, all in your house right now. And Neptune, your ruling planet. That's a lot of energy. And it's a lot of energy that is considered challenged. Venus is exalted there, but she's sitting with Saturn. And most people, astrologers, think that that's a dampening conversation. I think it's like Venus almost feels like she's talking to her dad about putting structure in and start, when are you going to start dating the right guy? When are you going to start using, putting some real spit and polish into your endeavors? All right, here we have Ray, our connection to spirit. Then we have Maya, all about education. And we have Akasha, the spiritual teacher. And then we have Archangel Raphael. Well, well, well. This is very powerful. Ray is being joined by the eagle. Maya is being joined by the queen. Akasha is being joined by the truth. And Archangel Raphael is being joined by Merlin. I want to offer this because as I looked at the eagle, while it represents the connection to the angelic realm, I very much felt as if this was about the Scorpio energy of understanding my own psychology. And I don't have to know every nook and cranny, but there are certain things that we know all about ourselves. And maybe sometimes we have fear that if people knew that, I always say that nobody can say they love me until I've been mad at them. Because if you can love me after I've been mad at you, then I believe you love me. Because I'm not easy when I think I'm right. Surprise, surprise. So here, Pisces, we have Ray saying your power comes from your connection to spirit. And then the eagle is like an awareness of your own psychological underbelly that you may fear others will have contempt for if you exercise the things that you want, if you assert yourself. Because Maya is the angel of schooling and education. And now there's the queen. And this queen, the queen right here makes me feel as if this is about actually stepping into your power, stepping into your Venusian energy, stepping into your creativity, stepping into however you want your life to look. Because Akasha and the truth card are in the angel's advice. Akasha is the spiritual teacher. This is a healing energy. And then we have this schooling and education in the form of Maya. So I believe that this is about Pisces kind of looking at the exchange of energy. We could see inadvertently that, your Libra energy is going to be challenged a wee bit by your willingness to be authentic if your needs are being met, if you're feeling an even exchange, or at least, a flow of exchange of energy in your interactions. Because Archangel Raphael and Merlin are offering some sort of balance and some sort of healing. But in order for that to take place, there's a part of you that gets to look at the way you're thinking about things. And if you're allowing your value in a situation to be powerful, and you may fear contempt from others if you exercise your power. That's how this is reading through to me. But I don't know if it's about exercising my power out there to them. Look at me, I'm powerful. I want to create this. It's about going here and then allowing myself to receive inspiration that then teaches through experience others about who and what I am. When I first started this work in astrology, I very much feared not doing it the way everyone else did it. I remember being on Lotta's channel and doing a whole show and using the wrong house structure. Literally like saying Scorpio was one house and it was not. And I remember that in the comments, only one person actually noticed my mistake. And I thought to myself, well, wasn't that a gift? Because the message that was resonating so much more than the structure of my mistake. And that's what I want to say for Pisces, because something could be registering and resonating more with yourself, with spirit, and with others than any sort of weird little details or things that you fear. Saturn and Venus in your house might be making you think, you're not enough. Historically, you've not been enough. But what if you have been enough? And it's time to recognize that. All right. I know you would think everybody noticed it. I was really shocked that only one person noticed it. But in any case, that was years ago. And my sense of astrology and Teri's way of looking at it, I feel much more sure-footed. Initially, I thought I was going to take a lot of crap, but I don't know if I'm big enough to get crap yet. But once the idea does come and people start arguing with me, wanting to keep the planets in their ancient vibrations, I'm ready. All right, everybody. We are going to take next Sunday off to celebrate the bunny holiday and to celebrate the beginning of spring. The solar, it's our new solar calendar. So enjoy your eclipse, set your intentions, put your crystals out for cleansing, and anything that represents relationship energy, relationship with yourself, relationship with money, relationship with abundance, relationship with love. And we will see you a week from Sunday, and I don't even know what the date is on that, but it's got to be April. Let's see if I can figure it out real quick. I don't know, because you know I'm that kind of gal. All right, it will be April 7th. We will see you on April 7th. And, you know, I have been giving a little break to Taylor and to Travis, but I will say that because I was focused on my taxes this last week and my friend died and it took up a lot of time. Actually, 2 friends passed away in the last few weeks, but I'm convinced that they're going to get engaged around the release of her new album. I don't know if they'll announce it right away, but if they're on holiday, they're probably talking about that kind of thing, because I have October 13th has been my day that they're going to get married. And now that Jason Kelsey has retired from football, a huge obstacle is out of the way. So I'm super excited about that. And if indeed I'm right about that, you guys, I might drop over dead from it. I might. Not really, but I'll be so surprised. Okay. Love you all. Have a wonderful week. Have a great solar return. Solar return for my Aries, lunar eclipse for everybody else. Be mindful, be intentional, and know that this eclipse is working for you. Okay. Peace out. See you in 2 weeks. And stream.